of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
It has all come down to one game. To cast off or pay back the courage of heroes. To ignore or reward the leadership of champions. To ask the haggard and the weary to give from their hearts one final time. Historically, final confrontations have not only brought out hockey's finest moments, but also its most unfortunate members. A team facing elimination plays with guts. Two teams facing elimination play with desperation. Will the league's best team all season finally advance to the finals, or will a past champion armed with talent and experience march onward? Tonight, one will fall, one will move on. The Avalanche, the Stars, Game 7.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today with my esteemed colleagues Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, and Brennan Vogt. And guess what? We get a bonus lab because the Colorado Avalanche earned it. They earned themselves a Game 7 against the Dallas Stars tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And I don't know about you three, but I'm already counting down the minutes and hours till that game. Before the season started, I kind of pegged this one and said, I see it going 7 games. And of course, I picked my beloved Avalanche. But what a performance last night from the Colorado Avs, who were a resilient group in a game where Dallas would not go away. Had a 4-goal second period, but the Avs responded with a 4-goal period of their own in the third and were able to successfully secure a 7-4 victory. 7-3 victory. 7-4? Am I losing my mind?
It was 7-4.
Yeah, 7-4 victory. So let's get into what we saw last night. I don't want to spend too much time there because, like the Avalanche, we need to move on and look at Game 7. But Ezra, I'll start with you. Is that the same team we saw in Game 4?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the defense has been great most of this series. They let it slide a little bit in the second period in a way that they didn't. In a way, I see you, Brennan. I think it has. I really think it has. The team defense, not just the blue line.
Right.
But they let it slide a little bit in the second period, and that was frustrating. What's crazy, though, is the Avs actually outchanced Dallas that whole period. So they were playing at a high level. They just weren't converting, and Dallas was, which you can either say it's great play from Hintz and Rantanen, or you can say it's a little shaky play from Mackenzie Blackwood, which is a big difference from Game 4 as well. Sure. But I think ultimately you look at this team and you say, hey, that's the team that can win. That's the team we've been saying can win this whole time. And that's the team we saw in the wins. I want everybody to know I lost my voice yesterday. It's mostly back. So if I sound crazy, that's why. But
you sound crazy.
Yeah, and I don't mean my ideas. I just mean my voice.
Just
my
like
ideas are
Brad
always-
Marchand.
Oh boy, you couldn't
Yeah,
even.
really,
What is it?
really going
We're
for
not
it there,
even
but out of
6 minutes
context.
in.
Had to get it out of the way early.
Yeah,
That's right.
I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I think that ultimately, like, the big takeaway between Game 5 and Game 6 is the team that started with the lucky bounce was able to protect the lead, even if they, didn't protect it the whole time, which I think is true in both games. So hopefully Game 7 doesn't have a lucky bounce make a huge decision, a huge impact like that again. But man, if it does, it better go our way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was in the stands screaming, tonight we get the bounces, because that's what it felt like, especially, I mean, even earlier than that, the first goal that went off of 2 Dallas Stars
That's
and
what I'm talking
basically
about. Yeah.
around Otter. Yeah. I mean, you're not even talking about the one that the Stars put in
The
themselves.
crazy one later.
off,
Yeah.
off Blackwell's shoulder and in. They're still statistically counting that as a goal against Ottinger, and I have no idea how you could do that. But I mean, I'm here for it, I guess. I don't know. It's just hilarious to me. Like, I did a still frame of that. Actually, I'm going to pull that up real quick because it is so funny. But the puck ends up going in, and the only player that is like even close to being near the puck is Arturi Lehkonen, and he's net side, and he's basically behind the net. And so I'm going to pull that up real quick because it's actually pretty funny, so I can show
Well,
the fans.
Mac was the last one to touch it, I think.
He was the last one to touch it, but what I'm
But it
saying
is so long ago before it
look
went
at this. Look at this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All 6 Dallas Stars in that little area. Just little Lecky over here, but the puck is already going in the net in that moment, which is absolutely one of those things. After the game, I had a Stars fan sitting right behind me, and I was super nice to him the whole game. He was super nice to me as well. We had a lot of great conversation about kind of the ebbs and flows of the game, and he said at one point, this is like 2 really good fighters that just keep exchanging knockout blows, and that's exactly what it felt like. Evan, I see you nodding your head along. The game started off in an absolute terror, especially for the Avalanche, who at one point had 20 shots on goal on the board, but then they took one off in the intermission. They finished the first period with 19 shots on goal. That's just crazy, right? Like, where does that come from?
That's the Avalanche that people know, right? That's the Avalanche that we've been wanting. That's a team that came out knowing they were behind the 8 ball, needed to come out with that intensity, put some pucks on net, and it worked for them, right? Not only are you controlling the play of that first period, but then you also get some of the bounces that you might not have gotten otherwise if you didn't do that. I mean, look at Game 5 in Dallas. That's exactly what they did. That's the thing I think that's probably been the most frustrating about this series as a whole, is that we know what the Avalanche are capable of. It just hasn't happened. Game 6 are probably the only times where it's happened, and that was because they're behind the 8 ball. You probably wouldn't want that to come out when you're behind the 8 ball. You'd rather want to get ahead of that, right?
Right.
But now we're in the situation, right? You've at least gotten to where you need to get to. And now it's just about bucking trends that the Avalanche have, because there's a lot that goes against them in Game 7s, not just in this series, but like as a whole for basically my entire lifetime.
Yeah. I actually just dropped, like minutes before the show started, an article about the history of the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars and their Game 7s. This will be the 4th Game 7. Each team has, between the two combined, there's 37 playoff appearances. Think about that. That's pretty crazy for 2 teams that aren't necessarily the oldest in the league. Not to mention, 2 of their Game 7s came in a Western Conference final, and those were back-to-back years. So, like, we talk a ton about the Detroit Red Wings and that era, the 90s golden era of Avalanche hockey, and how that was the big rival. Well, if there was a next step down from that, it was the Dallas Stars. And in truth, the Dallas Stars came out on the good side of all of these Game 7s that I'm talking about now, Brennan. But the thing for me last night, and what Evan is kind of foreshadowing, is getting away and bucking the trends, as Evan put it. We did a little bit of that last night with Cale Makar getting off the schneid via an empty netter. Sometimes that's how it goes. Val Nichushkin with 2 goals, Brock Nelson with some contribution, and of course, Gabe is still Gabe Landeskog, I guess. So how important is it that, of course they won Game 6. That's very important. But talk about the elements of Game 6 and how they won and how that sets them up for success in Game 7.
They were crashing the net more.
Yeah.
You even saw the goal with Landy and Nichushkin that Landy even set him up for the shot, specifically for the rebound. And so they were looking for those type of rebounds and those shots and crashing the net. Lehkonen had one too. So if they do that exact same type of thing tomorrow night, let's just say Dallas is in for just a long 60 minutes. But so is Blackwood, because they were doing the same thing to Blackwood on Game 5. So
yeah, like that's kind of how I read it going forward. When now that we turn up the page and look at Game 7, is like we might get a hybrid of Games 5 and 6, where we're just exchanging chances, and it comes down to who's making saves, who's staying out of the box, and who's finding success or a lack of success on special teams. I think that's really what this Game 7 will come down to. I don't know that it'll be as high scoring, but I do think that there will be just as many chances. I think in a Game 7 setting, usually everyone's gripping the stick a little tighter for one reason or another, and typically that lends itself to opportunities that kind of go awry. I just hope that the Avalanche continue to execute on these moments. I said it a couple days ago on our episode 103 that if you can't get to the tough areas with the puck, you have to put the puck there first and go get it. And that's precisely where the Avalanche found their success in Game 6. So much so, I even started to kind of yell at Nathan MacKinnon and tell him, just go to the net and put it on. And wouldn't you know it, he does it, and a Dallas Star puts it in the net for him. That is like such an illustration of my ideas a couple days ago. It doesn't matter how realistic you feel the chances are of it going in. When MacKinnon does that little flip and I pause that frame and I ask any one of us in this room, is this puck going in the net? Every single one of us say no. But that's not what happened, because that's not how hockey works. It's all about the unexpected. So I'm with you though, Ezra. I'm hoping there's less of that in Game 7 and just more guys putting the puck in the net, surely. But Ezra, tell me, let's talk about slaying that dragon. This is a franchise dragon to slay, as I've laid out. The Avs have never beat Dallas in a Game 7. This is also a dragon to slay for Nathan MacKinnon and Jared Bednar, who also never won a Game 7, which is kind of crazy when you think about how illustrious both of their careers are here in Colorado. That's a box that they haven't checked yet. Well, where is your confidence level, and what are your keys for them slaying this dragon?
Yeah, I mean, my confidence level is high. I feel like they haven't done it before, but that doesn't mean they can't do it. They're in a position now with a team that's equipped to do it. And ultimately, some of these Game 7s that they lost were teams that were less equipped to do it, quite frankly. So I think you can put all that on those guys if you want to, but it's not really fair. It's a whole team effort. To me, what they have to do is exactly what we were just talking about. Keep doing the things that made Game 4 and 6 so successful. Keep getting to the net. Keep battling through Dallas by dumping and chasing. Keep playing a simple game. That's what it takes in the playoffs. Even if you're capable of the high skill plays, use them sparingly, because they'll stand out more and they'll be more surprising, and therefore they'll be more effective. Play the simple game, do the right things, and they'll win. They're a better team, frankly, than Dallas. And I think, as the bounces even out, that's what will shine through. And I do think the bounces have evened out right now through the series. So ultimately, Game 7 is going to come down to who's executing the simple plays correctly. And the Game 4 and Game 6 Avalanche were that team. So they just need to not be the Game 5 Avalanche, who I also, frankly, I think Game 5, they played well. They just didn't play quite as well. So they're capable of it, and they've been doing it. They just need to do it at the highest level they can.
Yeah, well, to your credit about, the bounces, I do think you're right. I think they're even. At this point, we've seen, Nathan MacKinnon even called it. He said, quote, it was fluky, obviously a freak goal, but I thought we could have had it a lot more than that, so we deserve the bounce. And I think he's right about that. I mean, they hit 2 posts in the second period, which I think that's something to talk about too, is like, sure, the Stars had a 4-goal second period and that was not good, but the Avalanche didn't slow down in that second period. It wasn't like the Avs kind of like abandoned anything. It was just that the Stars capitalized on some pretty clear mistakes from the Avalanche defensively, which happens. But it's good to know that if you mitigate those mistakes, you can stick to what you're doing and you can still find success. Another quote, Evan, that I want, and I'm curious about how you feel, was Pete DeBoer after the game said, "I thought the Rantanen line was fantastic tonight. They got to do that again in Game 7." Talk about Mikko Rantanen's kind of performance as we sit today, and then also look at Mr. Marty Necas and Jack Drury and tell me how you feel about the Mikko Rantanen saga today.
Sorry, I chuckled when he said the Pete DeBoer quote. I thought you were talking about the other one.
Oh, you were ready for the
one.
controversy one. Yeah.
No, but I mean the Rantanen was great last night. I mean, he was. I think the TNT broadcast said it that him and Rupert had 4 points, which tied like an NHL playoff record of like most points in a period or something crazy like that. So they're dangerous. I mean, like I said, they're dangerous, and they're going to need more of that depth help. Coming on Saturday night, compared to the Drury and Necas, sort of situation now. I mean, the fourth line for the Avalanche has been one of the better lines in this entire series, right? Granted, Drury hasn't been the one that has been scoring, but like he was noticeable last night. He definitely had a couple of opportunities there for sure, and he definitely could have added on to that onslaught. So didn't quite happen, but that's okay. And then as for Necas, his goal in that second period, granted set up by that beautiful Cale Makar pass, was great because again, you're putting yourself in the right position, getting to the front of the net, and that is exactly what you need to do. So just keep on doing that, and I think that's kind of always been a big question mark too about Marty Necas is, can he do it in the playoffs? Because he hadn't with Carolina, that had been a complaint, and but then again, he hadn't played with Nathan MacKinnon before, right? He hasn't played with Nathan MacKinnon or Gabriel Landeskog, players like that can just uplift an entire team. Granted, I don't think if you I guess compare years past to Mikko Rantanen scoring in the playoffs, because he was always dominant at that for the Avalanche. He hasn't gotten to that point, which I think is okay, because he has more help around him than maybe they did years back when Rantanen was there. So it's such a close matchup, though. Like you just have to. I pretty much echo what everyone says. Just get to the puck to the front of the net, do what you got to do, work hard, try and control the play as much as you can, because that Dallas game at home is going to be really hard. It's not going to be going against it at home at Ball Arena, so
totally different. And I agree with you there. I clowned McFarland when the trade went down, and I said, you can't just say you're going to make up for it in the aggregate. Well, Mikko Rantanen has 8 points in 6 games in this playoff series, and Jack Drury and Marty Necas are currently combining for 7 points, with Jack Drury having 2 and Necas having 5. Depending on how Game 7 sorts out, it could be entirely factual that they make up for it in the aggregate, and I once again look like a fool, which is not all that uncommon. But it just goes to show that, like, there was a plan. A lot of people talked about the Rantanen thing and said it was a panic move, myself included, when it first dropped. But it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like there really was a plan, and that's kind of maybe why it went down the way it did, because they were probably formulating this plan long ago, long before we even thought about Mikko potentially getting traded, which you got to give some credit to McFarland and Sakic. I mean, on our last episode and on yesterday's social media world, we were getting ready to fire Bednar. Not me, but like, the layman fan on social media, trying to fire Bednar, trying to fire McFarland, trying to trade players. Like the sky was in full fall. And now here we are today, and we get to circle back and say, maybe that was an overreaction. And when I say maybe, I mean definitely. That was an overreaction. This team
but
looks
if
like
he loses this round, he's still gonna lose his job.
Which, I mean, remains to be seen, but I'd be willing to wager that that's not a reality that we end up in. But Brennan, I'm curious as to how you feel. As Evan kind of was expecting this question, and Evan, I'll let you comment on it because I feel like I know you have something to say. But DeBoer was the one after Game 6 last night that was going down the path of we hope that bounces don't go like this, and then kind of gave a snide remark as it referred to the refs. I went on NHL Sirius Radio yesterday as a caller, and I mentioned that road of blaming the refs and bounces leads to the intersection of elimination in golf season. And then today I tweeted, Pete, go down that road. Where do you stand with those comments?
Me or Evan?
You.
Well, you know, the Avs were doing that at first too. So, but I think they pretty much moved on, and they didn't let the Stars get the best of them this last game. So, if the Stars want to blame the refs, and then let those Dallas fans blame the refs, let them. If that's going to be their excuse for losing to a better team, let them.
Yeah.
But you know, you can only blame the refs so much. So
we know this.
Yeah. You can only do that so much. Landeskog on sides.
It's just so hilarious. Like Bednar could have said the same thing after Game 5, and he didn't. It's like, oh, no one gave Dallas a chance. You're a top 5 team in the entire league.
It
blows my mind. I don't understand it. That Pete DeBoer drives me crazy.
When I heard that clip, I honestly wanted to throw. I almost threw my phone across the floor.
But I will say this. It does make me a little bit concerned that he's bringing up the refs and stuff, because we've been through this before. I specifically thought of John Cooper after Game 4. In the final, where he's like, oh, I don't know, they had too many men, whatever. And then they came out in Game 5, and it was maybe more called one way than the other. So that's my only concern with that. But
it's definitely a strategic thing. It's definitely I listened to a portion of NHL's programming on Sirius Satellite, and they talked about kind of the process that refs go through in the playoffs. And basically, there's a head ref, so to speak, for lack of a better term, who leads a meeting as the refs come in. And he basically filters the information from the coaches. So say Pete DeBoer after Game 6 goes to the head ref and says to the NHL and says, hey, they're embellishing, you're leaning their way, blah, blah, blah. There's a referee that is in charge that basically decides whether or not that information gets put on the table for the crew that comes into the next game. And so I have faith that the head ref has probably seen this entire series, and he probably feels the same way about the calls as Ezra does about the bounces, which they've been questionable, but they've been questionable to both sides. Don't get me started on the non-icing call last night that led to a goal for Dallas. So the icing both ways was just like, I literally turned around and said, did I get like Mandela affected? Did they change the rules of icing? Like, is something happening in front of me that I'm not anticipating? But
it's a ref's interpretation of icing when the puck's released exactly. And because I've run into it in beer league, and I've actually, as a captain, had to approach a referee in that half circle of safety. And that's what I call that thing, that half circle there. And talk to him and be like, okay, where the heck are you calling this? Because this is how the rule is written per USA Hockey. And I, from that point on, usually the icing went my way, but it's whether Landeskog is going to call him out on it. We all know that Landeskog is very vocal and very chatty with the refs, but is he going to be doing that right away? Who knows? From the clips that I've seen so far, it sounds like he's very chatty with the refs so far, but it's in a friendly manner, not towards like, I'm criticizing your work, because I haven't been here for 3 years. So
I get it. I get it. Yeah, and you're right. I think like sure that's Landeskog's time to say something, but in the ebbs and flows of that game, it's sometimes it's better just to say, okay, all right, that's what's going to happen. That's how this is going to go. Because I think at the end of the day, what we talked about in the last episode is still true. Like those things are going to happen. You just have to be able to respond and be resilient. That is playoff hockey. It's just crazy momentum swings, and it's not quitting when you find yourself on the bad side of a momentum swing. So it's all right there on the table for the Colorado Avalanche. I thought it was awesome that Gabe Landeskog seemed to kind of put the game 6 on a pedestal in terms of it being, quote, another day in paradise. Ezra, are you hoping that they have that same mindset with game 7? As of course, fans, we look at it and go, ugh, Dallas, game 7, yikes. But a player might look at it and go, nice, Dallas, game 7, we get to do this. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean they should. They should look at it that way. It's such an opportunity to get the monkey off the back as of the things we've talked about earlier to prove that you are the better team. A true competitor, a true athlete, a professional athlete should approach every situation as this is an opportunity to prove myself. This is an opportunity to go for the win in a new way, right? Like, and I think that they will. I think especially with Landeskog back, it's such a the room has so much great leadership. There's more than just McKinnon raging out at people, which it works and that's great. But you got Landeskog to balance it out now too, which I know he was there, but it's different with him actually playing and showing that not only is he a good guy, he's still an amazing player, which is amazing. I'm so happy for him. But I really do think that what whatever mindset they had going into Game 6, that's exactly the mindset they should take into Game 7. Nothing needs to change. The thing that will change is the matchups because Dallas will get to control that. So guys will need to play a little bit more tight defensively. I think just not in terms of gripping their sticks too tight, but just being a little more aware of their situations, not getting into avoiding icing as much as possible to avoid screwing up their changes and those kinds of things. But as far as the mindset goes, keep it light, keep it the same.
Love it. I love it. I hope you're right. I hope that's what they do. Brandon, you actually brought up was something that Ezra just kind of talked about, the changes in the matchups as it pertains to home ice, and how that could have been a big and significant difference in the difference between game 4 and 5. Obviously, now we're headed back to Dallas, so that advantage will be back in Dallas's hands, who, in fact, when you look at things, they had their best period last night when the situation was the same in the second period, and the Avs had their worst period of the night. Are you legitimately concerned about that as it pertains to Game 7, and what sort of things can the Avalanche do to kind of fight against that matchup issue?
Well, I'm concerned about the second change, and because the Avs have not been good on the second change this series at all. And again, Dallas weather always concerns me when it comes to playoffs. So I've been watching the weather both here and there, but it's always Texas crummy weather. So the humidity is going to be a factor and with the heat there, so it's probably going to affect the ice, and that's my concern.
So you're worried about the second change and you're worried about the ice. What sort of impact do you anticipate them having? Like, what's the good and bad side of each of that?
Second change is that the Avs really aren't going to be able to adjust their lines very well. And then it's going to muck down the game. It's going to slow down the game like it did in games. What was it? 2 and
3, basically, both overtime games. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on that, I suppose, in Game 7. Hopefully, it's just something that affects the ice in particular, affects both teams. But the second change, I think that should be a focus, a tactical focus heading in, and something that they talk about in their meetings and stuff tomorrow. Which, man, tomorrow's going to be a tough day to do other things before the game. I don't know if you guys are like this, but when a big game like this, it's the anticipation just eats at me. Evan, how are you feeling in anticipation of this Game 7? Are you anxious?
Oh, the nerves have already begun. 100%. They've already started. It's like, that's where I'm at with this right now. I'm glad I'm not a big Denver Nuggets fan either, because them scheduling those 2 Game 7s basically at the same time is brutal.
Brutal.
But yeah,
well,
here's to the best, because I got to run. But here's to the best of the Avs.
Sounds good. Enjoy your spot,
I've got,
my friend. It's good to
6
see you.
minutes myself. So
sounds good. Evan, have a good one. So before we all go, because I got to get out of here as well. It's going to be a bonus episode, and by nature, it'll be a shorter one. But folks, thank you so much for tuning in. There's about 400 of you tuned in live. Please head on over to the website, milehighhockey.com, and give us a follow on X at @MHH_lab and at milehighhockey. And of course, you can see my esteemed colleagues and their tags on the screen right now. Go give them a follow as well. Do you guys want to make predictions, or are you too superstitious? Are you little stitious, or are you superstitious?
I'm not stitious, but I'll do whatever you guys want to do.
Nice. I like that. I'll do whatever you say. I like that. Good job, Ezra. Brandon, you ready? Are you stitious?
For this series or another?
Yeah,
series?
We'll start with you. Give me your Game 7 prediction. It doesn't have to be the outcome, but it could be a component of Game 7.
Landy game winner.
Mm.
You went right to it, my man. My goodness. Stingers.
Did you just get goose pimples, man?
I love that. That's kind of where I was headed. I haven't said it out loud yet. But you know, there was a moment in the 2022 Stanley Cup run that I think really catapulted that team into where they ended up as champions, which was the Nazem Kadri story that unfolded in the second round. In particular, when he had the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup final as kind of the tipping point and the cherry on top of that whole story. And I don't think this story for the Colorado Avalanche ends tomorrow. I think we just insert a chapter that can propel them into the next rounds with a ton of confidence. So my prediction for Game 7 is that the Avalanche actually win by more than 1 goal. That's my prediction. Ezra, what do you got?
Yeah, I love these. I was gonna stand by my man and stick with Landeskog, but Brennan beat me to it.
Nice.
Because I get that ding for the 2-point game in Game 6.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's give it to you right now. Hang on.
Okay.
Hang on. Boom. We'll give it to you next episode too. But good job. Good
Thank
boy.
But since you took Landy, I like the multi-goal win. I think it's gonna be tight. That multi-goal win might happen because of an empty netter, but I'm going to say that Colorado wins, even though Jake Ottinger posts a better save percentage than Mackenzie Black.
Love it. That's entirely likely. That's exactly what happened last night, obviously.
And I think every game. So it's not really that bold, but I think it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
I think there was a moment in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final that defined the win.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when Landy blocked that shot with his skate blade.
And it came off, and then Nate basically had to drag him off the ice. Yeah. He was like a soldier in battle. He said, "Leave me."
Yeah. That for me, that was like the moment of that series. But given, I'm a Tampa fan, and that was a hard series to watch.
Well, I think that'll do it for us today. Brandon, thank you so much for joining. Ezra, thank you so much for joining. This has been the Mile High Hockey Lab, a bonus lab Game 7 preview. If you enjoy this programming, please share it with your fellow Avalanche fans and fellow hockey friends. Send it abound. You'll be doing us a huge favor. Brandon, I'm going to do you a solid. Before we sign off, I'm going to give you this to answer.
Oh, sorry.
Florida made Brad Marchand.
I was gonna say, if you don't nail this, I'm gonna be so mad at you. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, go Avs.
Seth Jones.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.